Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2, testing. Testing, testing, 1, 2. Can anybody hear the mic by any chance? Okay, copy. Thanks for that. Okay, copy. Thanks for that. Okay, 1 second. I'll fix that up quickly. Okay, 1 second. Fix that up quickly. I got it. Okay, all right. I think we are good to go. Test 1, 2. Can we hear Track Stars Endurance Series 6 Hour at Le Mans? Test 1, 2. Perfect. Right, test 1 2. Let's try this out. Test 1 2. Test 1 2. All right, copy. All right, no more. I believe we are waiting for one more driver. It needs to reset the grid for those that jumped out. View is there, perfect. Test 1 2. Can we be heard? Chat, can we be heard? One more time. Perfect. Thanks, Pat. Good luck, buddy. So, welcome everybody. Apologies for the delay, where we are bringing you live for the Track Stars Endurance Series, round 4 of the 6-hour Le Mans series that we have running here in our series. It is part 3 of the final and second, as a final stint of the first division lobby, where we actually have drivers lining up onto the grid, but we know straight away that they will be doing a single file rolling start down the start finish straight, and then making their way past the turn 6 complex before they get to turn 7, which is the chicane that is called the PlayStation chicane. So away they go. Captain Risky at the helm of the 96 Visor entry, followed by Speedy Tyres in the CP Motorsport, doing a double stint for the CP Motorsport team. Unfortunately, they couldn't have their third driver, V Papa AT, join them, so Speedy Tyres is doing the best he can to do a double stint. Little Blacko in third place in the RoboSport number 23 entry, followed by Punz in the 32 Mash Buds Racing entry LMP, with Nismo 86 Oz in the number 5, being the third driver for the VVG RoboSport racing team. As Crazy Lunar Man, I apologise, is in 6th place, but completing an all Belgian lineup, with Aussie Cophite in 7th and Brandosa and 8th, rounding up the 7th and 8th position for EBM Motorsport. In the GT class, we have X-Hughes 016 with It's Racing being a last-minute substitute for Deadpool, which unfortunately he could not make, with SDRT Wazadon coming for you, Robo Sport in the Corvette, DJ XX Pointed in the Beamer, and Highlander rounding up the rear in the Porsche ISO Racing. As we get underway racing, we have Captain Risky, who's got a flyer of a start and got the jump ahead of the others, followed by Speedy Tyres and Little Blacko, as Puntz is coming towards into 4th place, trying to get his tyres warmed up so that way he doesn't get caught by Nismo. 86 Oz with Crazy, Lunar Man and Aussie Copite and Brandosa are in tandem with each other in 7th and 8th place. Leading away in the fields in the Porsches, it is the XX Huso 16X with It's Racing right behind him. And would you look at that, Wazadon coming for you, Robo Sport and DJ and Highlander rounding up the rest of the grid. So as we look up towards the lead of the race, it is Captain Risky leading the way for the LMP prototype class, with Little Blacko being caught by a penalty there, so he must have missed something there. Definitely caught by a penalty there from Little Blacko. So unfortunately he's dropped himself down into 4th place, as Puntz has actually immediately gained positions up into 2nd place in his stint. So Puntz in the Mash Buds Racing has a lot of work to do compared to what his teammates JMX and myself and Spud P666 had to do. My stint wasn't overly that great, so I've given Puntz a little bit of extra pressure to deliver the Mash Buds Racing. Hopefully a potential P3, but we'll wait and see. It's going to be a great battle between Captain Risky, Puntz, Little Blacko and Speedy Tyres, who undoubtedly the top 4 fastest drivers tonight, and led all the way by Captain Risky up front in the Pisvaza entry 96. So as we look down towards the grid, Crazy Lunar Man is doing a great job so far on his first lap, keeping it clean and just keeping his car in the middle of the track where it should be. With Nismo 86 Oz in 6th place, having a nice decent run himself. He's had a few he had a bit of a shocker last time out in the Track Stars Endurance Series at Laguna Seca last time out, where he only managed to do a couple of laps and just got disconnected. So unfortunately for him, he didn't get much racing time there, but now it looks like he's fixed up his internet and everything's all systems goes. As EBM Brandosa, I apologise, has actually gone past him into 6th place, with Aussie Copite rounding up the rear. As we do see at the back here, we see a big battle pack between It's Racing and SDRT Wazadon, with Coming For You making an excellent start for the Mash Buds Racing entry as we go on board with Coming For You coming in towards the Porsche curves, which is very complex, and on the first lap you don't want to risk too much, because when you risk too much you're going to be on the gravel trap and you're going to be in big trouble. So as Coming For You comes through that complex, we look up towards Wazadon as well in the Shade On Racing Porsche 911 with It's Racing leading the way, but he's also picked himself a half-second penalty. And Wesley Jordash in the chat, also known as Deadpool, has just confirmed in the chat that he is crying in his tears. He's crying some tears away. So very unlucky for you to not join this race, Deadpool, but hopefully It's Racing is going to put a stellar performance for you. But look at that, it's SDRT Wazadon's come through, and Coming For You is looking to make a move. Surely not, around the outside ahead of It's Racing, and he's done so very cleanly. And that is a move for 2nd place in class for Coming For You. So a great, fantastic start for Coming For You. And the Toll Mash Buds Racing had a bit of a difficult start at the beginning of the race, with his teammate Rugworth and Xylem struggling a little bit for pace and not really finding the inconsistency, as It's Racing thinks about a move on Coming For You, but unfortunately does not get that stick. And as well, X-Uso right behind with DJ SX Pointed in the BMW number 24 PLE entry, as it's going, whoa, it's a bit skirmish there between X-Uso and It's Racing. So unfortunately, look at that for X-Uso. He's got himself in a right old pickle there. He's not in the train, and look at that, he's off the train, and DJ is hooking on and sticking his carriage on the rear bumper of It's Racing, as It's Racing starts to think about a move on Coming For You, or is he going to think about fuel? I wonder if so, because that acid is very thirsty. But would you look at that? Look, we see Wazadon there. What's happened to Wazadon? Did he actually get himself a penalty but turned it in the wrong zone? We're not too sure. Yes, he actually has the penalty, so he didn't burn a sufficient amount of penalty in that first zone. So that would be one to keep an eye on, maybe at the post debrief in the race with the race stewards. But as we look down, look at this, 3 wide between the GT class, all fighting for second place. It's Racing for It's Racing Esports, coming for you, the Total Mash Spuds, with DJ SX Pointed in the PLE and XX Uzo in the Porsche. The brothers, oh, it's going to be 3 wide coming into this sequence of chicanes. No, it is a great move for X Uzo, well done. Making that move nice and stick on DJ. I thought it was going to be all the calamities there with Robo Sport right behind. And Highland, the 215, has actually got some front splitter damage, and unfortunately that's going to compromise his, and he's had a bit of a big spin there, so very unfortunate for Highlander, who's probably hasn't had much time to practice for this event, so he's on the back foot with some front splitter damage. As we look up towards the front, we do see, yes, it is still Captain Risky leading the way in the LMP prototype class, with Little Blacko actually moving himself up to second place with Speedy Tyres, and Punce in third. So Punce has made a bit of a mistake on his second lap, where he was actually in second place, but all of a sudden has now dropped into fourth place. So unfortunately for Punce, not a great start, and I believe, and I think it might be a thing, that the 32 car is just probably not delivering in its first laps, which is basically been the theme around this evening. So unfortunately for Punce, it's all about just keeping a head down and just trying to get the best what he can. But at the moment, he's stuck in fourth place. Possibly might not be able to make any more improvements, but again, it is very early stages. We're only 8 minutes into the race, so plenty of racing to come, ladies and gentlemen. With EBM Brandos has actually moved up into fifth place there, and he's picked himself a half-second penalty there for cutting the Dunlop corner, which is a little bit unfortunate, which is a very common thing. I wouldn't be surprised if there's not one driver that hasn't copped any damage, copped any half seconds or second penalties within the instance of the 2 hours at Le Mans. It is very renowned track for track extending, just that tiny fraction, and once you go over those white lines that the GT Sport game gives you, unfortunately it doesn't deliver and it gives you guys a bit of a half second or a second, which feels forever when you burn the penalty, as I know myself. But as we see, EBM Brandosa in fifth place has burned that penalty off, and he's at 6 seconds adrift up from Punce. With Crazy Copite, oh, is that a bit of an incident there with Aussie Copite? Unfortunately, don't have the keyboard, I can't take replays, so what I see is what I get. It looked like Crazy Lunaman had a bit of an incident there with Aussie Copite there, so no harm done. I think Crazy Lunaman is going to get the charge forwards with the extra hybrid power that Toyota hybrid TS050 has. And look at that, he's made a clean move on the inside, beautiful. As Michael Levy says in the chat, go Robbo, let's look down, let's see if we can find Robbo. Yes, he's there. And actually X Uso has actually dropped a few positions. And look at that, DJ is also in the pits as well. So we've missed an incident here, ladies and gentlemen, where DJ, and by the looks of it, X Uso has had a bit of a coming together. So I wonder what's happened here. Surely he can't be thinking about early pit stop with fuel topping, but from looking at that, he's actually put in a bit of extra fuel on his car. So we're not too sure. And Highlander's sticking it out for the ICE racing team with XUzo in 13th, RSR Robo Sport in 12th, SDRT Wiseacre, Wazadon, I apologise, in 11th place, but just picked up a 1.4 second penalty, so very unlucky for Wazadon. Race is just getting from bad to worse for him, where earlier on with Wiseacre and Mountain Grow, they looked like they'd be having a great, decent result, or possibly could have been third position, but like we said, it's early days, so time will tell on how things go. Coming for you is third in class, right behind It's Racing in the both Aston second and third in class for this event, and Nismo, actually no, it's actually an Aston Martin 1-2, I apologise. So It's Racing and coming for you, leading the Aston charge for the first time in a very long time. We haven't seen this in the beginnings, in the early stages of the GT class. We always saw It's Racing, Aston Martins in the thick of the battle with the Porsches, and the and I think and a Corvette or something like that. I can't remember. But now we've got an Aston 1-2 leading the front, with Wazadon right behind with the first of the Porsches in 11th place, but hasn't burnt his penalty there. So I wonder if he hasn't read the track map to see where he can actually burn those penalties. So he might be a little bit confused, and we're a bit confused as well. I think, why haven't you burned the penalty off? It doesn't matter anyway. Let's move up towards the front of the grid, shall we? We've got Captain Risky still leading the way with Speedy Tyres, actually getting a half-second penalty there, just caught it there. Little Blacko in second place with Speedy Tyres in third. Putz is on the recovery in fourth place. EBM Brandos is a little bit further away from Putz in with a 7.1, but has got himself a great gap between himself and Aussie Copite, who's extended his gap to Crazy Lunaman in seventh place, with Nismo 86, Oz in 8th place, rounding up the rear of the LMP prototype class, where the first of the leaders of the GT is It's Racing, leading the way in the 95 with Coming For You in the 47, close on his heels, having a great first stint for the Toll Mash Buds Racing entry. As we go towards Wazadon, he still hasn't burned his penalty, so he's a little bit confused there. So chat, I think we might need to give him a bit of a big F, because he's forgetting where the burn zones are. But we look back towards ex-user, he as well, as we don't know if he made a mistake with DJ or something happened where it was a spin, but we're not 100% sure. With Robert Swart actually having a decent outing in the EBM RSR Corvette C7. He's putting in a solid stint, and he's very familiar with Group 3 cars as well as his Group 2s and SF19s, being part of the series manager here at Track Stars Racing Series. He would know that he needs to pretty much drive every single car. So whatever car he gets caught up into, he'll drive it. He'll know how to drive it very well. As you see, look at that, 2.4 second penalty. So hopefully Wazadon needs to get the memo. I wonder if we need to. I think if we need to call cars like the director of Gran Turismo Sport. I can't remember his name. We might need to get him on the phone and say, stop and burn your penalty, SDRT Wazadon, otherwise I will disconnect you from the game. But if you look up towards Lunaman, he's actually got himself a good gap between himself and Nismo, but Nismo, we know, has a good pace in his car, and he's going to hopefully later on in the stint not make any mistakes and get himself up into 7th and possibly 6th place. As we say, time will tell. But looking back up towards the front, it is still Captain Risky 21 leading the way in the 96 Piswaza entry for the 96, making their debut in the LMP class, where last time out at Laguna Seca they were putting an entry in the GT class in the Corvette C7, where they dominated with the drivers Rubber Gear and Jono Stan 96. So it was a great outing for those guys, and they upgraded. They purchased a car. They managed to purchase a WEC car, LMP car from the graveyards, and they restored it into the colours of the Corvette, of their Corvette C7 from Laguna, and they threw it onto this car. And so far so good for these guys, and leading the way and possibly leading the overall standings for the final 6 hour. We are 15 minutes deep into this final hour 45 of the last race of the evening. So look down, Little Blacko in second place, only a small margin away behind his Putz in the 32, with Speedy Tyres in fourth, EBM Grandosa in fifth, Aussie Copite in 6th, with Crazy Lunaman in 7th, and Nismo 86 Oz in 8th place. So as we look down towards the field, there was the gap. So It's Racing has pulled himself a huge gap over Coming For You in first place in GT class, with Wazadon still not burning his penalties. So I think someone's going to have to get on the phone with the director of Gran Turismo soon. Ex-Uzo rounding up in 4th in class behind Wazadon, but if Wazadon burns his penalties, he'll probably be promoted up into 3rd place Robbo Sport's having, as we say, a great outing in that Corvette, so he must have a very good tune in his Corvette for him to get some testing and familiarizations with the car. In 5th in class, with DJ having a bit of a shocking opening lap where it looked like he had a bit of an incident with ex-Uso or with Highlander. We're not too sure, because it looks like Highlander's actually come in and he's repaired his damage. Yes, he has. So Highlander's repaired his damage and he's already a lap down, and we're not even 5 laps into we're only 5 laps into the event and he's already beaten laps. So yeah, very hard luck for him, but it's Captain Risky, 5.1 seconds over Little Blacko, so he's checking out of here, ladies and gentlemen, for this initial phase opening stint. Oh, I saw Punts there had a little bit of an off there, but he's regathered that comfortably, and he's right in the slipstream of Little Blacko for 2nd place. Can Punts make an early move, or will he stick behind him and save fuel and look after his tyres? Will Little Blacko be leading the way at the end of this event, or can Punts gather up his speed and get past him as early as he can, as early as the Dunlop chicane? With speedy tyres in 4th place, EBM Brandosa in 5th, Aussie Copite in 6th, Crazy Lunaman in 7th, and Nismo 86 Oz in 8th and last in class. Right on board with Punts in the cockpit of this beautiful Toyota Hybrid as he's executing those corners very nicely and getting himself, a little bit squirrely there, but a great exit that's going to help him get closer towards the Dunlop corners. Is he going to go into that, making a move? No, he's a little bit too far out. So, he's broken a little bit too deep, a little bit twitchy there. Very unlucky, and he's lost all that gap that he brought closer to Little Blacko. Is now just disappeared and got it itself out to 9.5 tenths. Let's ride on board with Little Blacko from the rear and see what he's got going on. So he hasn't got a penalty so far, and he's looking good for 2nd place, but right on his tail is Punts. So Punts is going to try and get as much as he can out of his slipstream, but the gap is pretty far and pretty large between Little Blacko and Punts, and that slipstream won't come into effect whatsoever. But all Punts can hope for is a good brakes down at the PlayStation chicane, as Little Blacko is actually coming to lap DJ SX pointed. So hopefully, there's a little bit of ghosting and then no ghosting there, so that could have been a bit disastrous for Little Blacko there, as Punts is coming right on his tail to get 2nd place in split through in part 3 of the 6-hour Le Mans series here at Track Stars Racing Series. Can Punts make a move into this 2nd chicane? He's a bit too far away, and he knows he's smarter than that he won't make a move into the chicane. It's a long race, fellas. Looking down towards the grid as well, we see Speedy Tyres, who had a great stint in his opening stint. His opening first 2 hours is down into 4th place, so he's on the back foot just a little bit, but it is early days. But we have behind him, also in the Porsche, is EBM Brandosa in 5th place, with Aussie Copite in 6th. Punts didn't make the move there on Little Blacko, so he'll have to wait until who knows when. Possibly he might make a move in the pits, or he might make a move nice and early. Will he make a move down towards Indianapolis? He's closing in the gap. Will he make a move? I think he'll know that he needs to back off and not cause a pile-up, but he's actually looking to commit. He's actually hit Little Blacko, and he's actually gone and saved it. So what a save from Little Blacko, and unfortunately for Punts, that will cost him a lot of time there, but thankfully for in Little Blacko's mind, he didn't go spearing off to the right-hand side. So that is a great save for Little Blacko there, and very unfortunate for Punts. As we said earlier, Punts needs to make a move, but I didn't think he would make a move that early, where Little Blacko got a little tap from the rear from Punts and almost sent him into the barriers. So a little bit of regrouping for Punts, and hopefully he'll have to make that time back up very soon. But I think he knows straight away that he's got the pace over Little Black, and he knows he can challenge Captain Risky. But as Little Blacker gets held up there with the EBN RSI, and so does Punts. So both these guys getting held up by Robbo Sport. And unfortunately for him, the battle is still on between Punce and Little Blacko, and no one got really majorly affected after that. So it was that's pretty great from Robbo to try his best to get out of the way. Can confirm that Little Blacko has no damage on his car. No damage on his car. He's still good to go. And I swear if he had a little bit more heavy contact on him, I believe he could have been into the walls on the right-hand side. So a heart-and-mouth moment for the Robbo Sport fans on the Track Stars Racing Series YouTube channel as he's coming up towards a gaggle of cars here, where he's coming up towards past SDRT Wiseacre, and he's looking to make a move on X-User, and Company for You has actually dropped so far back behind It's Racing. What is the gap between those guys? Between It's and Company for You is 8.6, so It's is flying away with his 95, which is a last-minute entry, might we add, ladies and gentlemen, where he wasn't supposed to be racing, and all of a sudden he's now stepped into the 95, his original 95, and is leading the race for the GT class in part 3 of the 6-hour Le Mans series. Coming for You in second in class, so a great recovery for the Mash Buzz Racing Aston Martin, with X-Uzo forming the final of the trios of the Huzo brothers. VLX Huzo taking out the victory in the first part of the 6-hour, followed by D Huzo, which I believe he got third in class after that, and now X-Huzo is bringing the car home, possibly for his sake, hopefully a potential win for the Huzo. So fingers crossed that by the end of the night they might be able to get themselves a great victory here in the 6-hour. Ooh, Coming for You is a little bit tail happy there. He almost took out X-Huzo there. That is a very squirrely moment for Coming for You. He has mentioned to me that he has been trying to get a bit of a tail happy. The car's a bit tail happy, and we saw evidence of that. But look at that, the straight line speed on the Aston Martin and the Porsche has no match for it whatsoever. So Coming for You takes it down onto the inside. X-User is covering the high line and is hoping to get a slingshot effect on Coming for You as we ride on board with X-User bumper cam. And let's see what he's got. Can he get himself closer to Coming for You at the end of towards Indianapolis? Can he make the move beforehand, or can he make the move afterwards? So he's tucked in right underneath the rear wing of Mash Buzz Racing Aston. And where is he going to go? He's going to go left, he's going to go right, he's going left, so surely he's going to make a move on the outside. Hopefully not, and he does. Can he hold it stick towards Indianapolis? Yes, he does, and he makes a wonderful move. Oh, and Coming for You has had a bit of a big spin there, and he got caught out by surprise from X-Huzo, and it got himself into a big 360 there. So big F's in the chat for Coming for You there. What could have been a great result for him, just bins it after getting a wonderful move done by X-Huzo, and he's moved himself up into second in class. So this is a great result so far for the CP Motorsport number 18 Porsche 911 RSR. Robbo Sport has actually promoted himself up into fourth place, so again, still a great start with Coming for You on the charge, on the recovery drive, trying to make sure he gets past Robbo. Oh, so we see a little bit of a squeeze there. Will Robbo give him the space on the outside? Oh, he doesn't, and Robbo Sport has actually gone into the fence, and he's copped himself some engine damage there. So what has happened here? Robbo Sport looked like he was going to let the position go to Coming for You, but unfortunately engine damage has compromised him, and he's going to have to go into the pits after this. So very unfortunate for what was a great start for Robbo Sport, 6 laps into the Grand Prix, and he's going to box in for an unscheduled pit stop, and looks like Coming for You as well. So both drivers having an incident there caught themselves out in all of that fiasco in the Porsche curves. But I guess in a way they're kind of getting themselves out of the way with their first pit stops, because if you look at their fuel tanks, 33 for Coming for You and Robbo Sport in 28, so they're going to get themselves for the first stop. As DJ SX Pointer has come into the stops again. So what is happening with DJ SX Pointer? He's pitted on the first lap, and now he's pitted on the 6th lap. So DJ, him as well, not having a great race tonight. And for the PLE esports team, not having a great evening whatsoever. So that must have been engine damage there for DJ, but as coming for you, also comes out to fix his damage, as well as RoboSport and 14 Highlander actually rounding up the round of the field, coming towards the end of the Porsche curves and towards the Ford chicanes. As we look up towards the front, it looks like we do see Punts make a move on Little Blacko, so he's got that move and he's made that stick. So great move for coming for you. We just caught the back end of that. It looks like he made a move just before the end of Mulsanne, straight into Mulsanne corner. In second place with Little Blacko in third, and Speedy Tyres holding a consistent gap between himself, Punts, and Little Blacko there. So don't count him out for taking second overall in the class in the LMP class, where we had Diswood completing the second spot on the podium, followed by Lurox 2022, and then myself in fourth place for the Mashbuds Racing. So Speedy Tyres, all he has to do is just bring the car home, keep it a good gap between himself and Little Blacko and Punts, and he'll seal second place in the constructors, only unless if this guy Captain Risky doesn't get a disconnect, or anybody else doesn't get a disconnect from the lobby, then the second place will all but be his, and it's all to lose for Captain Risky. Will his internet hold up? Will he be able to stay on track with an hour and 32 to go? So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back with you very shortly. Is Captain Risky for the 96 Pisvaza entry racing team in first place, leading the way. He's actually dropped himself some seconds between him and Punts. What last I saw was about 6 seconds, but it looks like he's lost a quarter time. So Punts is on the charge and he's flying in the 32 Mashbuds Racing, finally getting that car up to where it should be, near towards the front. But for him, hopefully for his sake, he'll be looking to try and reduce the gap between himself and the RoboSport Racing 22. But looking at that, he's on a purple lap, and he's actually set himself the fastest lap as well, 3 minute 21.4. That is flying for Punts. I know straight away that he was going to be a quick driver, and as he's been showing me his laps overall, but I didn't think it was going to be that quick and challenge. And it looks like it could be challenging Captain Risky for at least a split win. I don't know, it won't be overall victory, but at least bragging rights for part 3 of the 6-hour Le Mans series. Why not? Go for it, son. As we look up to see Punts in second place with Little Blacko still in third, but losing a bit of ground towards Punts after that last lap. He's at a 3 minute 21.4, and Blacko a solid 2 seconds slower than Punts there. So a little bit unfortunate for Little Blacko, but I think Little Blacko's running to maybe a set number, maybe running to his own strategy, and hopefully he'll be able to pick that up at the end of the race, where hopefully he, for his sake and his team's sake, can lead the way and take the final step off the podium here at Le Mans at Circuit de la Sarthe. So let's check in with EBM Brandosa. He's in 5th place, so having a bit of a quiet race there. Unfortunately for these guys in the number 34 their main driver, TTV Bite the Roses, got a disconnect early on in the first part of the race, where they were actually about 6 laps into the race, and the disconnect happened for him. So it's all about just getting the laps in for EBM Brandosa and for the EBM Motorsport team. They know they didn't. Maybe they thought they didn't have the car for this weekend, and they're just getting the laps in and just bringing the numbers up. So still a great showing for Brandosa to be up in 5th place after a solid performance that he managed to show at the end of the last round at Laguna Seca, where himself and the one and only Adam Weller managed to bring their car home in 2nd place overall at Laguna Seca. So it was a great drive by the EBM Motorsport crew for EBM Brandosa, and the newest signing to EBM temporary, Adam who commentates, it is the Adam Weller. So 6th place Aussie Copite also made his debut in the Endurance Series last time out, and he showed a great performance in his entry in the 477 EBM Motorsport car. Crazy Lunaman is making his debut debut showing here at Track Stars at Le Mans, completing an all-Belgian lineup with Nismo 86 Oz rounding up the rear of the LMP class. But leading the way in the GT class, it's racing, and we're about to catch him on board for a pit stop here as he's going right down towards the wire towards the end of his fuel stint. But it looks like It's Racing will definitely be pitting in this lap, but his tyres don't look too bad compared to what I've seen from everybody else's in the GT class, as he executes that perfectly and coming into the pit lane with 4% of fuel left. We see as well XX Uso's come in as well for a pit stop. His tyres are a little bit more worn compared to It's Racing's. SDRT Wazadon as well coming into the pits. So lap 8 is the lap time for everyone to be coming into the pits. But because these three drivers are so far ahead of the field, DJSX Pointer is going to be getting, I would say, it'd be nip and touch between himself and X-Huso or Wazadon, because it is not too much of the gap I think will close, but I'm pretty sure still leading the way will be It's Racing after his pit stop, as we see the 95 car cell equipment hire sponsoring the It's Racing esports camp, as well as MB Glass. So his real world sponsors from his sprint car racing is on his virtual racing car, and is leading the way for the Cartel Hire 95 It's Racing esports entry, with X-User coming out in 2nd place behind It's Racing, with Wazadon in 11th place. And how far back is DJ? He's not too far back, but he's picked himself a half-second penalty there, and that will bring Coming For You a little bit closer to DJ SX Pointed, with RSR Robo Sport after that nasty incident that he had with Coming For You in 14th place and 7th in class, or 6th in class, while we have Highlander 215 a minute 6 seconds behind. So it's going from bad to worse from the 19 Ice R Racing team on their debut series here in the Le Mans series, Track Stars Endurance Racing. So looking up towards the front, we do see the gap has closed between Captain Risky 21 and Punce. So Punce is on the charge. He is flying with his last 3 laps has been a 3-minute 20 in the 3-minute 21s, and Captain Risky has been in the constant 3:23s. So 2 seconds a lap catching him, and this is unbelievable pace from Punce as we ride on board with him coming towards the Mulsanne straight. And he's also going purple there, where Punce is going to get a great run on the Mulsanne straight ahead and behind Captain Risky. So can Punce make a move towards the end of the Mulsanne straight? Surely not, because he's had a great run, and I'm wondering what his fuel setting might be like. He's actually got himself a quarter of a tank left to go compared to, let's look at Captain Risky. Oh, but look at that, Captain Risky has just a little tiny advantage with fuel over Punce. Might say, look at that, his times have been improving. He's 3/10 up on his best, Little Blacko has used more fuel on his stint. Speedy Tyres is almost at the end of his fuel tank, with Brandosa as well. Aussie Copite is below the quarter mark. Crazy Lunaman is a little bit over the quarter, which is great to see. And Nismo 86 well far away from the quarter mark. He's just under a half a tank, so a minute 49, that could possibly be putting him up, if everyone else pits in, that could possibly put him up in, I would say, probably as high as, we look, maybe 6th place if he keeps it clean. These guys pit sooner or later. As we look up towards the front, it is still Captain Risky. He actually managed to eke that gap out a little bit by 1.5 seconds, so he managed to gain 0.4 down the straight there and through those chicanes. But Punt's right behind him is keeping him company. As we look behind with Little Blacko, every time I see that car, I'm always thinking it is the Nissan Group C 962 car with sporting the famous Calsonic colours, but on the wrong car. But when you look at it from a distance, it looks very identical. So let me know in the chat if you guys think that it is very similar to what you would see in the Group C from the Group C car, because it is quite close to perfection from the RoboSport camp, the livery. So they've done a great job with the throwback livery from that team. Now Speedy Tyres is in 4th place. He's just lost a little bit of time towards him and Little Blacko, but I think he knows his job. He knows what he needs to do, and he needs to be getting himself as close as he can to Little Blacko to not make it a huge gap. Oh, as he almost made a little crash there with RoboSport. With EBM Brandosa rounding up the corner there. Arnage, I apologise, I'm trying to remember the corner names. With Aussie Copite in 6th, with Nismo actually making the move on Crazy Ludeman. So this is good stuff for Nismo 86. He'll be trying to get himself close to Aussie Copite once he pits. So still leading the way in GT class, it is It's Racing in the It's Racing Esports Aston Martin X Uso 16X. Our Track Stars Formula 2 champion from 2020 in 2nd place in class with the Porsche 911 RSR, looking to be potential victors at the end of the 6-hour event. But he'll be looking to keep that gap closer to It's Racing, just in case, because I think after the previous race, I think Morgan S1 Davey, I'm not so sure if he won the race or if somebody else won the race, but the gap between Morgan and D Hughes, I did see was quite large. So, as we catch, ladies and gentlemen, we just saw that Captain Risky had a bit of a moment there for trying to overtake X Hughes. And look at that that's Brawl Punts, as we ride on board with Punts, trying to go plucking up through the gears, tucking into that slipstream. Will he make the move at the end of this second part of the Mulsanne Straight? Will he make a move? He'll sit behind him, maybe just to get him. Yes, he's going to sit behind him just to save a little bit of fuel and just to think about making a move down the end of Mulsanne, straight into Mulsanne corner. But it looks like he's just lost a bit of time there, so a bit tail happy his car, so he'll need to tame that with new tyres later on. But if you look at the fuels between Captain Risky and Punts, that is unbelievable fuel saving by Captain Risky. So big ups for Captain Risky. He must have been doing a lot of practice during the few weeks before the lead up of this event. With Punts in 2nd place, just the opportunistic moment to overtake Captain Risky. Didn't make a move at all, just thinking about the long game. And I guess in a way, that's what Punts is all about, trying to play the long game, and hopefully fuel gets back to him, and hopefully he can get near Captain Risky towards the end of the stint. So like we said, he might not be challenging for the overall line honours, but he will be challenging for the victory in part 3 of the Track Stars Endurance Series 6 hour. So let's look back at Little Blacko. He hasn't dropped too far back. He's 3 seconds behind Punts with Speedy Tyres in 4th. Toby Chug, where is DJ at? I will find that for you, kind sir. He is in 12th place, which is 4th in class. which looks like he's been having a bit of... no, I thought he had a bit of engine damage there. It looks like he's just driving a little bit slower than what he normally would be. Then again, he's picked himself another half-second penalty there. So what looked like he was getting closer to Wazadon, looks like Wazadon actually made a mistake after his pit stop, and that brought DJ a little bit closer to him. Coming in for you is right behind, fifth in class, with RoboSport catching up and not losing touch with coming in for you in sixth place, with Highlander 215 rounding up the back of the grid, 2.2 minutes 5 seconds behind. So it's a learning curve for Highlander, making his return to the GT Sport game, and hopefully for him it'll be able to, it's a learning experience, and hopefully one he'll take on board and maybe get himself to do more races later on. As we look at the back here, so we still see Captain Risky and Punts, but Captain Risky crucially has got himself a half-second penalty there, so Punts can capitalise on this if he gets a great exit onto this corner, but it looks like he just cut a little bit too much there, so maybe the game's going to register him a half-second penalty, or will he be saved by the gods of GT Sport? Yes, he has. So no harm, no damage there for Punts, but it looks like Captain Risky will have to burn his penalty off as soon as he can, but it looks like he's not pulling off to the side just yet. He's looked like he's going to try and burn it off into this corner, which we do not allow, ladies and gentlemen. We want to try and make sure we have designated burn zones, and we want to make sure that guys like Captain Risky burn their penalty off as soon as possible when safe to do so. But Punts is right behind him in second place, with Little Blacko actually making a pit stop there. We missed that. Little Blacko in third place. Has he put on a fresh set of boots and a full tank? Yes, he has. So he'll be looking to do the two-stop towards the end of the race, and looking to pit maybe around the 35-minute mark before he goes for that final stint, where Speedy Tyres as well actually came into the pits with EVM. Brandosa still out there. He's made a pit stop as well. Yes, he has. So he also made a pit stop. EVM Brandosa. Aussie Coplite has made it, is now in the pits, making his first pit stop for this evening, with Nismo 86 right behind him, so he might be able to overtake him as he gets closer towards the start-finish line. So we'll keep an eye on that just for a quick second before we reach the battle pack between Captain Risky and Punts. So can Nismo get past? Looks like that's going to be the case. So Nismo up into sixth place. Great drive for Nismo 86 to get himself up into sixth place, and hopefully he can hold that. He's still got his fuel savings really good. I'm wondering if he's going to be able to do a one-stop. Does anyone think a one-stop is possible in an LMP car? Surely I couldn't get anywhere near a one-stop, so I wonder if he's driving towards a number and thinking that a one-stop is possible. I'll have to look at that later on as we get past the 1 hour mark. But looking up towards the front, it is still Captain Risky leading the way, and the gap is still consistent there between Captain Risky and Punts. So Punts is not letting him go, but look at his fuel tank. He'll be looking to pit at the end of this lap. He's still going purple, ladies and gentlemen, so I wonder if he's going to think, well, should I go for the fastest lap, or should I come in and change tyres and pit? It would be smart enough to make a pit stop for Punts with the 32 Mash Buds Racing entry. Does he make his pit stop? Yes, he does, and so does Captain Risky. So this is going to play well into Captain Risky's hands compared to the fuel numbers, 13% versus 5. So those extra few seconds saving from Captain Risky will help him out when it comes on the pit exit. So how far back is Little Blacker? He's coming up towards the Porsche curves, and he's in the 23 entry of the RoboSport Racing Toyota LMP. I always keep getting confused between the Toyota. If it's a Toyota and Nissan, I have to keep in mind that it is the Toyota hybrid, not a Nissan Group C car. But as you do see, drivers are getting their tyres changed. I wonder who's going to come out in the lead. I wonder if someone's going to underfuel the car just to get track position, or will they all go for the full tank of fuel? Only time will tell. Punts is putting his fuel into the car right now as we look towards Captain Risky. This will be very crucial. He has actually come out first, and he actually has underfueled his car. Same with Punts, 93 litres versus 87 there from what I saw from Captain Risky there. So just underfilling the car just a tiny bit. He must have just seen Captain Risky go from the start, and he thought, well, if you're going, I'm going to go as well. So, but I'm going to put a little bit of extra fuel in my car just to make sure I can get to the final stint, final pit stop. With Little Blacko in third place, Speedy Tyres in fourth. EBM Brandosa still in fifth, with Nismo moving himself up into sixth. Aussie Copite, after his pit stop, is seventh place, almost 7 seconds down from Nismo, but he'll get him within the next 2 to 3 laps with the fresher tyres. Crazy Lunaman rounding up the rear of the field for the Nightmare Racing Team in 8th place. And he's as we've just caught him, he just runs a little bit too deep into that corner. And is looking at that as well. He's actually copped himself some damage as well and towards the rear. So a little bit unfortunate there for him to cop that damage at the last minute. We didn't see that. As we look towards the GT class, it's Racing still leading the way with a 13.4 second gap. But as we just catch him, it just slides the rear end of that car. So the tyres are not holding up to his liking. X-User, look at his, wondering what his tyres are doing. They're basically the same. So I would have thought the Porsche would have better tyre conservation and better fuel conservation. It looks like It's Racing is doing a mega job in this Aston Martin, just keeping up on par with the Porsche demand from the corners and on the straight. So it's a great showing from It's Racing Esports and the team owner, and the team boss, and the series admin of Track Stars Racing Series. It's Racing leading the way for the It's Racing 95 Aston. Coming for you, looks like he's made a move on Wazadon. I wonder if there's anyone from that side pitter. Was that DJ that was getting closer to him? What happened on his lap here? He had a 4-minute 45 lap on lap 10, so we've missed something here. So 45, so he's basically lost 40 seconds after that stint, and unbelievably didn't manage to lose his track position. And it's all going from bad to worse for DJ SX Pointed, down in 14th place, which is 6th in class, behind Robbo Sport, 28.5 seconds behind, with Highlander right down the order in last place, 7th in class. So coming for you has made a great step forwards in his Aston Martin Toll Mash Buzz Racing on the recovery drive after the first 2 stints were completed by Rugworth from New Zealand and Xylon 96 from Australia. So the Australian leading the way and taking the final stint, bringing the car home, hopefully for a potential podium if all case comes to worse. Could be a podium for the Toll car, but Wazadon looks like he's keeping himself close to coming for you and not letting him go away. So we'll have to wait and see at the end of the results for the Aston Martin Toll Mash Buzz Racing. Gap between for Captain Risky and Punts is still within that time frame, so these boys are matching each other in pace. It's unbelievable, crazy speeds these guys are going through as they're going. They did their outlap, now they're on to their first flying lap, but it looks like Captain Risky and Punts, this will be one to keep an eye on. With Little Blacko right behind, Speedy Tyres is losing a bit of time on Little Blacko here, so this might not be good for Speedy Tyres, but I think for his sake, he knows he can probably close that gap and make sure he doesn't lose too much time, that they don't lose second position to possibly Little Blacko and Lirox 22. EBM Brandosa is in 5th with Nismo up into 6th, 7th Aussie Copite, Crazy Luman making a bit of a mistake there, and it's not the pause menu surprisingly there, so it is a very long stint, ladies and gentlemen, so maybe for a guy like Lunaman, maybe he had to do a bit of a stretch or have a bit of a sip of water or have some dinner in the meantime. I'm not too sure. I mean, the track's long enough to have a dinner, right? Who knows? With It's Racing still leading the way in the GT class, copping himself a half-second penalty. They're coming up onto the Mulsanne straight. As we take a break here, ladies and gentlemen, we'll keep our eyes on this battle pack, where it is Captain Risky leading the way in the LMP prototype class, followed by Punt. So can Punt close the gap within the next 1 hour, 9 minutes. Only time will tell. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. So the gaps between each driver has stayed a little bit stale, ladies and gentlemen, between Captain Risky, of course, looking to be the closest battle on the track, probably followed by Nismo and Aussie Copper, but Aussie Copper's not really catching him, so Nismo's doing a great job. He'll be needing to come into the pit stops very soon with 1 hour and 7 to go, so unfortunately the one stop won't work for Nismo, but who knows, possibly in the next stint, if he wastes a little bit of time in the pit lane, maybe they could get a one stop and get it away with it, but we won't be too sure until we see for ourselves. Let's have a look back in the GT class. We look at the tyres from It's Racing. Looks like he's got a bit of wear. X-User saved a little bit more tyres. Coming for you. He's also saved a lot of tyres, so he's doing pretty well in the Aston SDRT Wazadon. Still copping penalties and not burning them off, so yeah, no one's I haven't heard anyone make a phone call to the director of GT Sport. RSR Robbo Sport in 13th place, but 5th in class. He's doing really well for that recovery drive that he had with the incident with Coming For You. DJSX Pointed having a not so good run in 14th and 6th in class, while Highlander 215 still rounding up the rear with GT. As we see here with DC, Captain Risky have a bit of a half-second penalty there, so this will open up the opportunity for Punts to close the gap, and he's seen that, and he's closing. He wants to close that gap as quickly as he can. Well, whilst we have a bit of time on our hands, ladies and gentlemen, it is basically, we do have a bit of time to talk about the track itself, about Le Mans. So the first race was held back in 1921, and it had a very long stretch of consecutive races held at the Le Mans circuit, at Circuit de la Sarthe, up until 1936, where the race was cancelled, and due to the workers' strike, the race never became a reality. And then they went back to racing just before the Second World War involvement in Europe and in France, where they held off racing for 9 years, until up to 1949, up until 2020, which was the last race held at Le Mans. And this year, we will see the 89th edition of the biggest race in endurance racing in all competitions. They will take place on the 21st and 22nd of August 2021. So mark that on your calendars. There's going to be a spectacle to watch later on as the dates go by. But as we look as well, Le Mans basically was the birthplace of endurance racing in 1923. The inaugural Grand Prix of Endurance, where we had 20 manufacturers and 30 different teams enter the series for the very first time in the endurance racing that was Le Mans. And most of the manufacturers, funny enough, were all from France, only except one from Bentley from the United Kingdom and a pair of Excelsiors from Belgium. So funny enough, for crazy Lunaman, being a Belgian himself, just representing the early heydays of being the only Belgian team in the Le Mans series. So he's running. So he must have read up on his history as well, and Nightmare Racing as well. And in the end, it was Bentley and the Chenard Walkers that were leading the way in the 1923 race, where in the end we had the Chenard Walkers taking a dominant car and making a dominant victory to make it a class win for René Leonard and André Logache, followed by their teammates Christian Duverge and Raoul Boucher-Bachmann leading in a Chenard Walkers 1-2 victory. And interesting enough, they actually managed to complete 128 laps in total. But so you compare 128 laps from 1923 to what was 397 laps that was completed back in 1971, where in that race, funny enough, where 1971 was the race where none other than the head of recruitment for Red Bull Racing, driver market. I'm not so sure what the technical term is, but for the driver scouting, Dr. Helmut Marko was piloting the Porsche 917K Martini Racing Team to victory. So, and his teammate Guy van Lip from the Netherlands as well made a remarkable victory for the Group C entry. Guy van Lennep was also from Netherlands, so I wonder, Dr. Helmut Marko and the Dutch, they probably get along very well, so hence why we see a guy like Max Verstappen in piloting the Red Bull Racing Red Bull Racing F1 car, who himself is leading the championship coming towards tonight for the Baku Grand Prix, which will start within an hour and a quarter minutes time for the Baku Grand Prix, where it was a chaotic qualifying that saw a lot of red flags and a lot of crashes in qualifying, which is pretty crazy for a street circuit, but I guess that's the nature of street circuit racing, that accidents can happen, and when you push too hard, the barriers bite you hard. So very interesting to note that 397 laps was just under the 400 lap marker, and the cars nowadays are only getting themselves about in that 390s to 380 lap period. So no car has matched the 400 lap marker just yet. So maybe we might see it here. Maybe we might see it in 2021, or maybe in the newborn of the hypercars later on in 2025. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, and possibly that marker will be broken. So fingers crossed. So here's hoping. As we look towards our Track Stars Racing Series Endurance Racing 6-hour Le Mans, it is Captain Risky leading the way in the LMP class, followed by Punz and the 32 Mashbards Racing, with Little Blacko losing touch with Punz, but I think Little Blacko is trying to make sure that he has a decent gap, that he doesn't lose too much time to Punz, because he knows that all it matters is just he needs to keep a clean car and instead take that final step on the podium. But looking back to speedy tyres as well, maybe Little Blacko might be within a chance of getting close to speedy tyres from what I saw in stint 2 from Lurox and 22 and Diswood 1. Looked like they were having a close battle towards the end, so I'm not so sure what the gap was between those two drivers. And I know Speedy Tyres was quite a fast driver in the first stint, so he might be going quite conservative and just bringing the car home to take 7th place overall in the Track Stars Le Mans 6 hour. EBM Brandosa, like we said at the beginning of the coverage, had a bit of a tough start in the 34 where their first driver got a disconnect 5 laps into the race, and they've been on the back foot and they are a lot of laps down. So unfortunately for Brandosa, he's not going to place himself higher than 8th place. So unfortunately for him, he's gone and losing times, but he's basically trying to get as comfortable in the car and just have a little bit of fun at the same time with less than an hour to go here for the final stint, for the final 59 minutes here at Track Stars Racing Series. Aussie Cockpipe has done a solid job to keep himself steady in 6th place, with Nismo finally making a pit stop, and looks like he won't be able to make that 2-stop work unless possibly, looking at that lap 16, his pit exit, his out lap, looked like it could be a possibility unless he made a big mistake. Actually, no, this is his out lap, I apologise. So he must have made a big mistake to lose a lot of time. And as we see Aussie Cockpipe, yeah, he lost a lot of time. So it'll be hard for him to make it a 1-stop. He might have to do a quick splash and dash with maybe 5 minutes to go, but only time will tell. His Racing is leading the way still with a 11-second margin, almost 12-second margin over XXU. So, but what do I see here? Crazy Lunaman has actually come into the pits, and he's actually stayed in the pit lane. So, what is going on here? Has he? I wonder if he has actually had a bit of an incident, or at home, maybe it's a bathroom break, or it could be the delivery man coming up to his front door. I'm not too sure, actually. But Wazadon looks like he'll be making a pit stop. Yes, he does, with 11% fuel left. I wonder if DJ might be thinking one. Nope. Coming For You has come into the pits recently, and he's got himself a new... He's actually stayed on the same set of tyres, so he thinks the tyres... He's doing a double stint on the tyres, on the racing hard tyres, which is possible. I myself managed to do it, but you definitely lose a lot of time double stinting on the same tyres. So whether it's worth it or not, especially on an Aston Martin, I'm not 100% sure. So we see Wazadon coming into the pits right now, changing tyres and getting a full tank of fuel for what won't be his final stop, but will get him towards a 3-stopper later on. Robo Sport in sixth place in class in the Corvette C7 in the EBM Robo Sport Racing Entry 777 with Highlander 215, plenty of laps down, but unfortunately he's just getting himself some laps in, and as we see it, that can't be right. He surely can't be pitted for 7 laps in a row, surely not. No, that's a bit strange. Anyway, big glitches that you see on Gran Turismo, that's nothing new there, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, but what do I see here, actually? Do I see Putz has made a huge mistake somewhere? So we've actually missed that, ladies and gentlemen. Where has he made a mistake? It looks like the previous lap 18, a 3:31. So he must have made a big mistake, or he must have had an off there. And this has brought Little Blacko back into the mix. So what we thought Putz was challenging for victory in part 3 of the Track Stars 6 hour is actually gone to waste, because now Little Blacko's right behind him. So this will be one to keep an eye on, ladies and gentlemen. Little Blacko and Puntz. So it is the famous duel here at Track Stars Racing Series, where it is Robo Sport Racing versus Mash Spuds Racing. Puntz versus Little Blacko, top drivers, each from their respective teams, fighting it out and dueling it out for the last time here at the 6 hour at Le Mans. So who will claim second place? Will it be Puntz? Will it be Little Blacko? Time will tell very shortly. come back towards the action. We did see Little Blacker have a 1 second penalty there, so he must have cut the 4 chicanes there as we were off camera there. So Little Blacker cutting the chicanes there and losing ground, all that ground that he had as close as 0.5 towards the end of Mulsanne Straight. He's actually lost that gap and is now eked out to 4.5 seconds between himself and Punt. So very unfortunate for Little Blacker to make mistakes like that, but it is Le Mans. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody corner cuts at least once or twice throughout the whole event. Probably that's a bit of an understatement. Probably everyone corner cuts at least 20 or 30 times within a lap. So it's no surprise that Little Blacko managed to get himself a second penalty there. So everyone's cop one. That's nothing new. But Captain Risky is 7.8, so he's actually lost a little bit of time towards Punt. So Punt is definitely back on the charge. And as we do see that, yes, he had a 3:31, but he's managed to pick it up with a 3:22 on his second lap. So a bit of a scare for Punt within the 32. Managed to get himself back up into second place. Still in second place in the split 3, part 3, I apologise. Where Little Blacko in third place with speedy tyres, just nursing the car home and just taking it towards the checkered flag to get second overall, to claim second overall for CP Motorsports in the 16. CP Motorsports Porsche 919 Hybrid. So speaking about Porsches, Porsche as a constructor has won the most Le Mans, taking out an outstanding 19 victories, dating from 1970 in the Group C era all the way back to its last victory in 2017, where this car, the Porsche 919, was the last car to take victory for the Porsche era of the hybrid, in the hybrid era back in 2017, before Porsche pulled the plug and pulled the pin in 2018, where they were no longer competing in Le Mans and they've given all the realm to Toyota to bring out to keep their Toyota TS050 up and running and delivering 3 consecutive victories on the trot from 2018 through to 2020. So I wouldn't be surprised if this year in 2021 where we would see a dominant Toyota 1-2, but who from which team is going to take out the victory, only time will tell. Because I guess as much as you want to see as a constructor's victory, you want to have a bragging rights within the drivers as well. So whoever wins Le Mans will basically get to say, well, I won Le Mans and you guys didn't. So basically that's what happened with Fernando Alonso. He managed to win the race back in 2018, partnering up with Kamui Kobayashi and Brandon Hartley. Oh no, not Brandon Hartley, I think somebody else. Sebastian Buemi in the 2018 season. And back in 2015, where we saw the Porsche, the debut of the Porsche 919, taking victory with Nico Hulkenberg and Earl Bamber, and another Kiwi driver, which I can't remember from the top of my head, taking big line honours in 2015. So the Porsche-Toyota rivalry was there until Porsche decided to pull the plug in 2017, and it's now an all-Toyota affair, with, like I said, 3 victories on the trot, possibly making it 4 after the end of the race. But it's funny enough, out of all the years, Porsche never managed to win a race from the early days, from the early hybrid days, and from back even in the Group C class, where we see Putz's livery in the 32 Masterbuds Racing is basically a trademark livery from the early 90s. Toyota, they debuting Toyota TS010, dating back from 1991 to 1993, where they ran the famous red and white colours, but in the Group C class, but they never managed to take victory. They only got 3rd as their highest in 1992, but never managed to take top step at the podium. So it was a little bit, so out of all that, Toyota never managed to win a race until, I guess you could say in a way, that everybody pulled the plug from endurance racing. They said, no, we can't do it anymore. It's too expensive. We don't want to have much more involvement anymore. But Toyota managed to keep through, because I believe they're the only team, a manufacturer team in the World Endurance Championship that are actually competing out there, at least in the LMP class. Of a shame that we missed the Porsche versus Toyota rivalry, but hopefully with the new see the return of Porsche and Audi and even brand new marques such as possibly Ferrari, Aston Martin could come back into the fold. And I think everybody is coming back to Le Mans racing, coming back to endurance racing with these new regulations, because everyone seems to be on board with the regulations, and hopefully in a way keeps the motivation there. That hopefully when they get to 100 Grand Prix held at Le Mans, that'll be a sight to see, and hopefully everybody gets to come out and show their colours and see who will win the 100th Grand Prix, the 100th Le Mans 24-hour. As we look up towards the front, it is still Captain Risky, so 7 seconds between Captain Risky and Punz, who he herself has put 7 seconds on Little Blacko with speedy tyres. In 4th place, and EBM Brandosa in 5th, Aussie Copite in 6th, Nismo in 7th, and last in class, because we do believe, actually no, he's not last in class. Crazy Lunaman is still in the pit lane, so this is a bit of a unfortunate thing for Crazy Lunaman. We're not too sure what's happening with him with a 20-minute pit stop, so hopefully everything's okay with him. And unfortunately for the Nightmare Racing team, they won't be able to get themselves. I believe would have been 5th or 6th in class. So unfortunately for them, looks like their time has come to an end. But I think they're going to be just ahead of EBM Brandosa and the 34 EBM Motorsport entry. So let's have a look down towards the GT class while we're at it. Let's see if we can find any battles between his racing. No, he's still got himself a bigger gap between him and XX User, but looks like he's coming to the pits not long ago. Looks like he was the previous 2 laps ago, so he's coming in for a short stint, but doesn't look like it's going to be a final stint for him, so he'll need to fuel save his car just to make it to a 3rd window and make it a final pit stop. XX User is still in 2nd place, but we look and we see DJ SX Pointed in 3rd in class, so that's a great recovery for DJ. But it looks like, but with the fuel compared to coming for you, he'll definitely need to make a pit stop sooner or later, and I don't think he's going to be able to make it at the final pit stop. But who knows, the BMW can save a lot of fuel when it comes to endurance racing, when it comes to a track like this. So you can see he's doing a little bit of short shifting there, trying to make sure that he can get towards the end and try to get towards the pit stops before that fuel counter says 0 laps and 0%. So coming for you, 4th in class. He's also copped himself a half-second penalty there, probably cutting Indianapolis and getting up towards Arnage. So unfortunately for him, he's got a bit of an incident there, which gives DJ a little bit more of a gap between himself and coming for you. And as we see there, I believe that is Highlander 215. Yes, having a bit of an incident there on the curbing there, was we just caught that. So what is going from bad to worse from the Ice R Racing team, and copping damage front, left and front right. So very unlucky for Highlander 215, making a return back onto Gran Turismo Sport for the first time in a very long time. And it's great to see Highlander 215 back in the Track Stars community of racing. Robo Sport 13th and 5th in class, or 6th in class I might add, with SDRT Wazadon again. I haven't heard the phones, I haven't heard anyone pick up the phone, but he's still picking up penalties, and big penalties, and not voting them off. So I wonder who's going to do the honours. Probably I might have to do it myself then. With coming for you, coming out into what looks like DJ has actually pitted, so coming for you will be back in 3rd in class, with DJ SX Pointed coming into the pit lane for possibly a final time. Does anyone think in the chat, can we think DJ SX Pointed make it on this final stop, or will he have to pit for one more time for a splash and dash? What do we think, chat? You see, It's Racing still leading the way 22 seconds, so It's Racing's having a solid performance as a late substitute for Deadpool, who was unfortunately meant to take over for the final time on the 6th hour, but It's Racing has had to step into the car for the last time and to get his car propelled towards the front. And like we said, we're not too sure if It's Racing is going to be taking line honours victory, but we'll have to keep an eye on the posts on the Track Stars Racing Series Facebook page that you can like and subscribe, like and follow on Facebook, as well as join our Discord as well, where we have a great community of drivers and looking to race in our Track Stars Touring Cars TS2 series, as well as our Track Stars Formula 2 series, where we have great competitions where basically we're having almost two full lobbies racing. So we're almost at the point where we can also almost have two full lobbies of racing. So if you want to have racing and you are free on a Sunday night from 5:30 p.m, do jump on our Discord, but find us on Facebook first to jump into the Discord. As we see, as yourself, It's Racing, myself, N-Spud P666, and RoboSport, the series managers of Track Stars Racing, coming up and looking to help you guys out as much as you can to get yourself sorted out and hopefully get you in a seat of a Group 2 GT500 or a Formula SF19, or even one of these, or even an endurance car, where there could be an LMP car such as the Toyota TS050 that Little Blacko is sporting, or even speedy tyres in the Porsche, or even the Porsche 919. So maybe you as well might be able to jump in and have a crack at endurance racing. Or if you feel like you're not fast enough in the LMPs, why not jump into Group 3? So plenty of spaces available, and 2 lobbies running, where our second split lobby has actually up to 13 drivers this evening, and for our second split. So we do thank our Track Stars community very much for sticking out for this big event that is the Le Mans 6 hour here at Track Stars Racing Series. 15 drivers here in Lobby 1, whilst we have 13 in Lobby 2, so 28 drivers in total, which is amazing to see. So we thank our community so much for the support that you guys have shown us. So thank you very much. Looking up towards the front, we do see Captain Risky losing time towards Punz. So Punz is on the charge. He set himself a 3-minute 20.6 on the last lap. Wow, that is unbelievable pace by Punz, but on a very low tank of fuel, that lap time was definitely coming. So a 3-minute 20.6 versus a 3-minute 23. He's taken an easy 3.5 seconds of Captain Risky, but because there's only 41 minutes to go, he's going to probably get at least another 2 or 3 laps on his fuel, on his tank of fuel. So can anybody let us know in the chat who will take part 3 of the LMP prototype? Will it be Captain Risky in the 96 Piss Vaza racing team, or will it be Punz taking out bragging rights for part 3? Stay tuned to find out within the next 40 minutes coming up. See Little Blacko negotiating lap traffic from RoboSport Racing in the Corvette C7. As we start to look in the chat as well, it looks like Michael Levy has pointed out that the Nightmare Racing Team had to do an engine swap, by the looks of it, they've actually had to do a complete retirement. So I wonder if that engine must have had water in it or something like that. We're not too sure. And he's also said as well that he thinks that DJ will need to do one more stop, because unless he can save a lot of fuel, which is I agree with that. A BMW can save a lot of fuel, but from what I'm seeing so far, he's keeping the car in the high revs ranges. So I don't think he's looking to make it for the final time. I think he will have to make a pit stop towards the end of the race. So you might be right there, Michael. As we do see Highlander 215 rounding up the rear of the grid for the Porsche 911 RSR car number 19, where Benjo GLR 19, the head honcho of the ICE R racing team, managed to bring this car back from the dead, where it used to be a gridline racing car, where the car was scrapped and sent to the graveyards, until Benjo managed to break through the barriers and break the chains, unlock the chains with the chain puller, with the chain snapper and managed to dig up the car from the wrappers and sneak it out of the graveyard and back into his factory to bring out a lovely purple and black livery, which he has formed the Ice R Racing Team. Great livery for them, and a great sign and a great car to see back on the track. The number 19, which was formerly Gridline Racing, now owned by Benjo GLR 19 in the Ice R Racing Team. So as we look back towards the front, it is still Captain Risky, but that gap has been eaten away by Punts. Unbelievable. And by looking at the fuel margins, it looks like Punts is still a little bit low on fuel compared to Captain Risky, but I think Captain Risky is looking to have a bit of a final say for bragging rights for part 3. But Punts is on the flyer. He only managed to get himself a 3-minute 24 there compared to a 3-minute 25. So Punts is catching very fast, with Little Blacko right behind, 15 seconds behind. So it is the battle for bragging rights here for part 3 for the final 37.5 minutes here at Track Stars Racing Series Enduro Series at the 6 hour for the Le Mans 6 hour, broadcasted to you live and free on YouTube. So if you have not subscribed to us, please do subscribe, as we do bring you all the content for all the racing from the TS2 Division 2 and the TSF2 Division Racing, as well as endurance racing commentated by myself and It's Racing, or individually compared if one of us is doing a stint or not a stint in the comm box or in the car. But please do subscribe if you want to see some Sunday action here, as Little Blacker comes into the pits for the final time. So his fuel compared to Punts and Captain Risky is not much difference there. So 5% for Little Blacker. He'll be looking to put at least possibly 70 litres of fuel into his car to get to the checkered flag and hopefully bring that car home for 3rd place on the podium at Le Mans, for the Le Mans 6 hour. Speedy Tyres also has come into the pits as well with 2% of fuel, so it's all about a cruisy finish for Speedy Tyres. So he's looking at his consistency. He hasn't really shown consistent 325s, 324s, so he's done a great job. As Little Blacko is coming to top up on fuel. What number is that going to be for the last 36 minutes? He's going to get himself a full tank. So he hasn't really. So I wonder if he hasn't done his maths properly. But a full tank is quite a fair amount, unless he's been revving the hell out of that engine that the game possibly gives you an X amount of litres, where you have to think, well, I can't make it to the end and I have to make sure I get to a full, I'll just need a full tank of fuel just in case. But yeah, very surprising though. What is Little Speedy Tyres has got? He's almost at a full tank as well. So a bit different strategies being played out here, ladies and gentlemen, with the fuel. So as we look towards Punts and Captain Risky battling for the lead for part 3 of the 6 hour Track Stars Endurance Series Le Mans 6 hour event. Captain Risky for the 96 Pisvaza entry, leading the way ahead of Punts in 2nd place. Whilst we look up towards the GT class, it is It's Racing with an astonishing lead from XX Huzo, 16X with 25 seconds. That we'll have to wait for, ladies and gentlemen. Who takes line honours for this one? Will it be CP Motorsport or will it be It's Racing Esports on the top step of the podium? Time will tell, so stick around and all will be revealed in the coming days, in the coming weeks here at Track Stars Racing Series. Coming for you has done a solid drive to recover up into 3rd place after a difficult start for what was a difficult start for Xylon 96 and Rugworth in the 47 Aston Martin Toll Mashbuds Racing. So a bit of a difficult start with SDRT Wazadon has finally got rid of all of his penalties, but hopefully he doesn't pick up anymore. But in 4th place in class, but he's keeping an eye on coming for you, because it looks like, from what I can tell, from what I can imagine, I believe Wazadon is definitely going to be 3rd in class for the Shadon Racing Team Porsche 911. DJSX pointed, looks like he could make it on a fuel save, I'm not sure, but looks like, look at that, Robo Sport right on the rear bumper as we go an onboard with RoboSport Racing coming on towards the back of DJ SX Pointed, and looks like DJ has just actually signaled him and just tell him to go by, because DJ is having a race going from bad to worse. As we look here as well, coming for you, or not coming for you, Captain Risky and Punts. There's actually been an accident for Punts there, so has he copped any damage? He has copped damage, ladies and gentlemen. He did cop damage. He was about 1.1 behind Captain Risky, and he's copped himself damage, possibly around the Porsche curves, because that gap was really close to each other, and now it's a 13.1 gap between those guys. So unbelievable scenes of what could have been a potential victory for Punts. We'll have to do it all over again, showing his great pace, and he said a 3 minute 20.6 to even better to lower the benchmark, with Captain Risky coming out with 84 litres. So I wonder how much fuel Punts is going to put in his 32, and the extra time to fix the car up, the front splitter up. So damage there on the front splitter. I wonder if he made contact with the car in front of him from a GT car or a prototype car. We're not too sure. But that is unbelievable. Unbelievable. It was 1.1, now down to 16.7. So, very unlucky for Punts there to be that far down. So, I think Punts will have to get his head down with 32 minutes to go, 32 and a half minutes to go, and challenge Captain Risky. So, can anybody in the chat let us know, can Punts catch Captain Risky 21 and take bragging rights for part 3 of the 6 hour Le Mans series presented to you by Track Stars Racing Series? So can Punts catch Captain Risky with the pace that he's got? Can he get himself victory? Only time will tell. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. As we're approaching 30 minutes, 30 seconds to go for the final time here at Track Stars Racing Series for the Endurance Series here at the Le Mans 6 Hour. It is Captain Risky in the 96 Husqvarna entry racing team in first place with a comfortable 15.5 second gap between himself and Punts, which was the lap before. The lap previous was as close as 1.1, but Punts made a big mistake in one of the sectors, possibly around the Porsche curves or down back at Arnage, to be back down so low to be 15.2 seconds behind Captain Risky. So all Captain Risky needs to do is bring the car home, and it'll be a trifecta. It'll be a trifecta of victories for the 96 entry, with Norm XC taking victory in the first part, with John O'Stan taking victory in the second one. So can Captain Risky make it 3 for 3? Or can Punts catch him? We'll have to wait in less than 30 minutes time. But as we look down the rest of the grid, we do have Little Blacko in third place for the RoboSport Racing entry, sporting the Calsonic Nissan 962C colours in third place, with Speedy Tyres in the CP Motorsports in fourth place, right behind Little Blacko with 28.5 seconds gap difference. That'll be enough for him to be second place on the podium behind the 96 and ahead off the 22. Very important for Speedy Tyres to keep that car clean and not have any issues or disconnects. EBM Brandosa, a comfortable drive in 5th place, just all on his own, no battles at all, nobody in front of him, nobody behind him. He's just going for an easy, typical Sunday drive, as you would like to call back in the old days, a Sunday drive for EBM Brandosa 34, but also, and again, a great recovery for Brandosa to be getting 5th overall. 5th for part 3, I apologise. Aussie Copite is up into 6th place, so he's jumped the gun. He's jumped ahead of Nismo 86, where we actually thought Nismo might be making a cheeky one-stop, but doesn't look like he's going to make that the case. So it looks like, look at lap 24, he just had a bit of a not so good lap 24, a 4-minute 11, so we can definitely tell his one-stop has not gone to plan. Aussie Copite's in 6th place, leading a EBM 5th place and 6th place. Nismo in 7th, whilst unfortunately Crazy Lunaman and the Nightmare Racing Team has actually disconnected and left the lobby. So unfortunately for those guys, they won't be claiming any points for this race, but still, I believe will be ahead of EBM Brandosa in 7th place overall. As we look ahead into GT class, It's Racing has done a great job as a last-minute call-up, where he himself wasn't going to be racing this evening. Left it all in the hands of S1 Davey, Justin 930 taking the first stint. S1 Davey had a bit of a weird start to his second stint, not knowing what was going on. Possibly he didn't read the driver's briefing before he entered the lobby. And Deadpool was meant to be taking the final charge for the 95, but Deadpool unfortunately had been having some network issues and some lobby issues. So unfortunately for him, he cannot be racing with us tonight. But It's Racing has taken the helm off the 95 and has done a spectacular job leading the way in the GT class, with XX Huzo in the Porsche, number 18 in second in class, possibly taking a victory for the Huzo brothers, with VLX Huzo taking victory in the first stint, with D Huzo taking second place in the second stint, as well as XX Huzo looks like he's going to have a comfortable second place in GT class, which could possibly give them overall victory to this evening for the Huzo brothers and CP Motorsport. DJ SX Pointed is in third in class, and it looks like, going on my theory of a no more stops, could be a possibility, because the gap between him and SDRT Weiss Wazadon is growing, and it looks like it could be a possibility, but it is a very big stretch. He will possibly have to do, I would say, I think he will have to do at least another 6 to 7 laps on the numbers that we're reading. So another 6 laps or 7 laps to go, and hopefully he has his 7 laps in the fuel tank. But looking at that fuel gauge, half a litre, 50% on the car, I'm not so sure if he's going to be able to get 6 laps in for the final time with the one tank that he's got. So he'll be looking to fuel safe the hell out of his BMW M6 in a very striking white and pink bonnet livery, which you going away from the stealth of the black and purple and blue and pit lane esports blue. So going for different distinct colours for the Le Mans, as it is a special event where all drivers have come in and brought out replicas and different liveries, one-off liveries. So DJ up into third place with Wazadon right behind in 4th. So if DJ does pit, Wazadon is going to take advantage of that and claim third in class. What would be a great showing and a great return to the podium for the Shadon Racing Team in the Porsches. They'll be the first time they get the podium in the Endurance Series if Wazadon can keep his place. Coming for you is in 12th place on the overalls, but 4th in class. He looks like he could be getting a little bit closer to Wazadon within the next 25 minutes or so. Robo Sport is a fair way down on Coming for You, and Highlander 215, which unfortunately for him, a lot of incidents for him, unable to have the consistency and unable to have the running time that he would want. So very unlucky for him, but nonetheless a great showing for Highlander 215 from the 19 entry. As we look up towards the front, it is still Captain Risky leading the way, so 14.8 seconds. So the gap is coming down, but unfortunately for Punts, it's not going to come down fast enough for him. So I believe Punts will have to throw out the white flag and try to commit to second in part 3. And unfortunately for the Mash Spuds Racing, I don't think it's going to be a podium for the 32, which will be the first time this season they don't score a podium in the Track Stars Endurance Series. So a lot of work to do for the boys in the 32, for myself and Punts to go back to the drawing board and thinking what has gone wrong and what we can do to fix that up for the next race at Spa, for the 4-hour at Spa later in August. So Punts in second place in the 32 with Little Blacko still right behind him, 10.6 seconds behind Punts, but is showing great pace to keep the consistency that he needs to keep with Speedy Tyres in 4th place, Brandosa in 5th, and Aussie Copper in 6th, with Nismo in 7th, and rounding up the rear of the prototype class. As we do see a change of the lead in the GT class, it is Huzo leading the way ahead of its racing, but as we look towards the fuel gauge, it looks like Huzo will have to pit at the end of this lap. Even though he went personal best on these previous lap, he will need to pit because yes, that fuel marker has gone red, and he will need to make sure that he can bring the car home and hopefully a potential victory for the CP Motorsport entry. It looks like the gap has stayed steady between all drivers. It looks like DJ has copped himself a big penalty there, 1.9 second penalty for him. So very unfortunate for DJ. Which, if he can consolidate a 3rd place in part 3 of the 6-hour, that would be top credits for him after a struggling drive for him. But because of drivers like SDRT Wazadon making mistakes, and as well as Coming For You not showing the consistency that he would be showing as well as Wazadon, I'm pretty sure DJ could possibly get away with a no stopper now until the end of the race, because as the time is ticking down and the laps are ticking down, he'll need to make sure he's fuel saving the hell out of that BMW M6. So all the gaps unfortunately are a little bit stale and a little bit spread out, as we do see Captain Whiskey lead the way in the prototype class. So as we look to see in the Track Stars racing community, we have a lot of Australian and New Zealand drivers, but interesting enough that the first victory for an Australian driver was back in 1928, where UK's Wolf Bonato and Australia's Bernard Rubin took victory in their Bentley 4.5 litre car, and after completing 154 laps in the process. So 1928 was the first victory for an Australian, and the first victory I believe for a Kiwi was Bruce McLaren back in the Toyota. The Ford GT40, the iconic Ford GT40. So, we actually have a message there from a driver on the chat. It is actually, yes, SDRT did have a bit of a spin there, and he's now behind Coming For You. So Coming For You has actually taken 4th place, which could possibly be a 3rd place in class, but we will have to wait and see if DJ comes in for the pits for the final time. But as we look towards Huzo, he's coming out for the final time and consolidating 2nd place on the track. Will DJ come into the pits at the end of this lap? I don't think so, but things can change. No, he doesn't stay out. He stays out for another lap. So I believe he's got himself a little bit too wide and too much onto the curb there, and he's actually been reset onto the track. So this is not a great thing for DJ, as he was trying to get away with possibly taking no more stops, and DJ has actually reset back onto the track there, ladies and gentlemen. So that's actually quite interesting. I've never seen that before on the Le Mans track, where you cut so much that it actually resets you on the track. I've seen it on other tracks, but never at Le Mans. So I wonder what that gap's going to be after that. So yes, that gap is coming down massively. So it's coming down to just under 19 seconds between DJ and Coming For You. So DJ will be looking to try and fuel save that car to the end. But looking at his pace, I don't think he's going to be able to make it unless he needs to do, and with the fuel numbers that I'm seeing, I don't know about you guys in the chat, but I think he'll need to pit for one more time, and he's just run a little bit wide there, and he's going to cop himself another 1 second penalty after that. Or did he go with lucky? He actually got lucky with the half-second penalty there. So it's going from bad to worse for DJ, unfortunately for him. So unfortunately for him, he's going to have to, he himself also has to go back to the drawing board and think how to improve the M6, which was looking to be one of the favourites to at least contend for the podium positions. But unfortunately for DJ, just hasn't been able to get his BMW M6 up towards the front. Gaps are still staying pretty stale here. Yep, so unfortunately Kuntz isn't going to be able to catch him, as we do see support from the team, from the 96 team in Norm, XC and John Stan 96, all watching along, cheering their boy along. So go Captain Risky, go. It is all go for the 96 Pisvaza entry racing team, leading the way in first place and going to take overall line honours here at Track Stars Racing Series, Endurance Racing, mind you. So the gaps are a little bit stale, unfortunately, so we might ride on board with speedy tyres. See what the let's just take a little bit of a quick lap down the Mulsanne Straight as he starts to burn off his penalty first. But then we'll go on board and we'll listen to the sights, the beautiful sights and sound of this Porsche 919 that took victory, its last victory in 2017. That's just a beautiful sound, isn't it? I want to see, I don't know if anyone in the chat wants to maybe give me a suggestion. Who should I go on board with? I'm wondering, I just can't really see many battle packs though, so I wonder who would be, what car you guys want to hear around the Le Mans circuit. What car would you like to hear next? Would you like to hear the grunt of the BMW M6, or would you like to hear something else? Chat. Alright, well, looks like we've got the first one. Jono Stan wants the race leader, so at your request, Jono, we'll go for a lap around with Captain Risky going around the Porsche curves. Not the Porsche curves, the Dunlop chicane, I apologise. Coming up towards the S's as he brakes hard into the S's third gear, plucks it into that corner just for a quick flick of the left and flick right before he goes to the keep before the Mulsanne Straight as he gets a nice entry. So as we ride on board with Captain Risky, let's listen to the sights and sounds of the TS050 Toyota Hybrid. great sound to hear. And as I do see from the chat as well, from Pat, he looks like DJ has pitted. So unfortunately for DJ, not been able to make that final stop work, he's had to come in for a splash and dash, but he's come out 11.9 seconds behind Coming For You. So can Coming For You keep hold of third place on the track for part 3 in the 6-hour Le Mans series here at Track Stars Racing Series, or can DJ SX Pointer close the gap between him and Coming For You? Only time will tell within the next 13.38 seconds. As we look up towards XX so he's coming second in class, but he's still not gaining on It's Racing, copping himself a half-second penalty there. Wasdon once again still not burning penalties where he should be burning them, so probably a little bit of a chat between. He will need a little bit of a chat between the stewards and have a little bit of an explanation with the stewards to why he didn't burn his penalties off in the burn zones. But regardless, he's keeping himself honest in 13th place. It looks like he himself has actually made a pit stop, I believe, because he's really far down the order. I did hear that he did spin earlier, but I wonder if he actually had another spin. But judging by lap 24, he definitely had a big spin, because lap 22 was one of his spins, and then lap 24 was another one. So it's all going from bad to worse, which looked like possibly, whoa, as I do say that, as I catch it right at the right time, SDRT Wasdon is going from bad to worse for the Shade On Racing team. And you know what this could open up, ladies and gentlemen? We believe that this could open up a potential podium for the 47 Toll Mash Spuds Racing. So what a sight this could be for the final result for Coming For You, Rugworth and Xylon 96. What looked like to be a horrible outing for the Toll Mash Spuds Racing. Looks like there could be a saviour in Coming For You 194, dragging this car to the podium for the final results. But we will have to wait, as I said, within the next week or so until we solidify the results and confirm the overall results, with all penalties and all incidents being recorded at the end of this race. And hopefully this team coming from the rear onto the podium, that'll be a great achievement for the Toll Mash Spuds Racing 47 entry. Got 11.5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. So for the prototypes, they should basically have another 4 laps to go. So what an amazing thing, 4 laps to go for the prototypes. And I think for the GT class, I believe these guys might be able to have maybe 3 more laps to go. So It's Racing still leading the way in the prototype, in the GT class, while Captain Risky is leading the way in the prototype. So easy. There's going to be 3 wins on the trot, possibly for the 96 entry. But the most winning, so each driver taking 1 victory each, etching their names in Le Mans virtual racing history. But one driver in the real world that has had the most wins at Le Mans is actually held by Tom Christensen from Denmark, with 9 victories, with 6 victories, all consecutive victories from the years 2000 to 2005, and taking his final victory in 2013, piloting in the legendary Audi R18 e-tron Quattro, which on the game sounds absolutely mint. And unfortunately we don't see any Audis here, because due to the hybrid of the car and running out within the first few corners, and the drainage of the hybrid is appalling. It doesn't really suit the Le Mans circuit, the Le Mans style circuit. So unfortunately for that car not making an appearance, it is a shame. But hopefully, maybe if we think about Spa coming up and the R18 being a good car to drive around there, maybe a new team can bring that car out and bring it back to glory days. Who knows? Only time will tell So we'll have to keep an eye out in August, or I believe September is the next endurance series race here at Track Stars, where who knows? Maybe the Audi might make a comeback here and make it a 3-way manufacturer battle. But as we look again, less than 10 minutes to go. Finally, we are 5 hours and 50 minutes into this event, ladies and gentlemen. We are coming up to the last almost last 9 minutes of this event, where it's still Captain Risky leading the way. The gap has closed suddenly, but it's not going to be enough for Punts to challenge for the bragging rights of part 3. It looks like it will be an easy victory for the 96 Pesvaza racing team, with Little Blacko in 3rd place, with Speedy Tyres in 4th, looking to take 2nd place on the step for the overall victory, with Little Blacko taking an easy 3rd place ahead of Punts in 4th place, as EBM Brandosa looks like he'll be rounding up the rear overall for the overall victory in the endurance race tonight, where it looks like Aussie Copite, it'll be a close battle, close call between Aussie Copite and Nismo 86. So the car 20 and the car 477 will be looking to take out 5th place overall, so time will tell to see who takes that one. One driver leading the way comfortably, It's Racing, the last minute substitute man, coming out of the commentary box, putting his racing suit on and jumping into his Aston Martin, his beloved Aston Martin, for the final time. He's going to come around at least with 2 laps to go, to be right on board with the Aston Martin for a lap with It's Racing, the series admin of Track Stars Racing Series. Amazing sight to see of that Aston Martin and that V12 Vantage revving the hell out of that V12 engine, which came to an abrupt end at the end of the 2015 season, where V12 were no longer made existent, or the Aston Martin V12 was no longer allowed to compete in the endurance series, where Aston Martin pulled out as a manufacturer themselves, as a brand themselves. They do have teams in there, but not representing Aston Martin Racing. They do have the cars, but they're not getting factory backing from Aston Martin. So, and the last time we saw that V12 Vantage revving out its lungs at Le Mans was back in 2016. So it's a great sight to see for the Aston Martin, looking to take victory here in part 3 of the Track Stars the Track Stars Endurance Racing Series, where who knows, we'll have to, as I said, we'll have to wait and see on what the stewards are going to do with overall standings between It's Racing and XX User. Will it be a remarkable comeback victory for It's Racing Esports to take line honours, or will it be XX User and his 2 brothers taking the top step of the podium? One thing we will have to keep an eye on as well, coming for you and SDRT Wazadon. That battle pack is getting actually bad to worse, as actually Wazadon has come into the pits and has copped damage, and he's got himself, and everything for Wazadon has gone from bad to worse, as he's going to come into the pits and serve his pit stop and fix his car up. Otherwise, he's going to not be able to make it. So he looks like he might be able to do 1 more lap. We are not too sure. So as we look up towards the front of the GT class, I believe It's Racing, yes, he will be able to do 2 more laps, with X-Uzo being able to do 2 more laps. I believe Coming For You will be able to do 1 more lap after this, and between the gap between him and Wazadon is absolutely huge. So this could open up a chance for Coming For You and the 47 to take a podium, an unlikely podium, in the Le Mans 6 hour. As we are 4 minutes to go, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming towards the end. It is Captain Risky leading the way still with 13.8 over points, with Little Blacko in third place, Speedy Tyres in fourth for the CP Motorsport entry. EBM Brandosing having a quiet old race in fifth place, with Aussie Copite not far behind, 34.7, but just taking it nice and easy for Aussie Copite. Nismo 86 Oz in seventh place, rounding up the rear of the LMP prototypes, where we do see It's Racing leading the way in the GT class ahead of XXU. So 16X Coming For You third in class in the Aston Martin 47 entry. DJSX Pointed closing the gap rapidly, but picks himself a half-second penalty there. Unfortunately for DJ, he looks like he was closing, but it is the last lap. It is going to be the last lap for DJ and Coming For You. So DJ has to pull out 8.5 seconds to get close to Coming For You. Otherwise, Coming For You is going to take not just third place on the track, but it looks like he's going to take third place overall. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Robbo Sport down in fifth place, copping himself another half-second penalty there, with SDRT Wazadon going from bad to worse, and a very unfortunate pit stop, unlucky pit stop that he had to do there down in sixth place, and Highlander 215 rounding up the rear of the grid, 4 minutes 32 behind Wazadon. As we do see, ladies and gentlemen, yes, we are on the final lap, and Captain Risky, wow, what a lap that is from Captain Risky, 21, a 3 minute 20.582. I wonder if Punz has an answer for that. Coming on to the final lap, I wonder if he's going to put a display with fastest lap. So I wonder who's going to get that. But as we come around for the final time, it is Captain Risky rounding up the corner, heading onto the Mulsanne Straight for the final time here at Track Stars Racing Series Endurance Racing here at the legendary Circuit de la Sarthe, that is Le Mans. It is Captain Risky in the 96, leading the way with Punz in second, Little Blacko in third, rounding up the podium for part 3. But as we said at the top of the previous broadcast, it looks like it's going to be Captain Risky and his team taking line honours for first place here at Track Stars. Overall victors, Captain Risky 21, Norm XC and Jono Stan 96 taking out the overall victory, with Punz in second place, looking to get as high as possibly fourth. And unfortunately for that team, did not have much luck today. So back to the drawing board for the 32 car, where we see Little Blacko getting third. Looks like he's going to get third place, but now I actually do see Little Blacko and Speedy Tyres gap. I wonder if Speedy Tyres has got a big enough gap that if Little Blacko just keeps his nose clean, could Little Blacko end up getting second place in the overall? I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure what Lurox's pace and gap was between him and Diswood 1, but hey, never say never. If penalties if penalties do come in, I would be surprised to see Little Blacko and Lurox 22 and Loudy Darkness on second place, but Speedy Tyres in fourth place, rounding up. He looks like he's definitely 100% going to be on the podium, but where, time will tell. As we look up towards the front for the final time, let's look up towards It's Racing. If he come across the line, he has, but he's got 20 seconds to go. So he's completing his final lap. He's going to complete 30 laps of the Le Mans 24, of the Le Mans 6 hour. As we look up towards Captain Risky for the final time, copping himself a 0.8 second penalty, but that doesn't matter for Captain Risky, because he's going to come around towards the Porsche curves for the final time. Ladies and gentlemen, we do have an overall victory, and it is victory going to be taken by Captain Risky and the 96, sponsored by Pisvaza and the racing team that contains Norm XC and Jono Stan 96, and Captain Risky bringing the car home for the final time, executing the Porsche curves perfectly, coming up towards the 4 chicanes, burning his last set of penalties off as he comes towards the end of this sector, of the end of the track, for the final time around the 4 chicanes. It is Captain Risky taking victory for line honours here at Track Stars Endurance Series at the Le Mans 6 hour. It is Captain Risky, Jono Stan 96 and Norm XC taking overall line honours. So congratulations to the Team 96 for taking the line honours here at Track Stars Racing Series 6-hour Le Mans, with Punts in second place for bragging rights in second, with Little Blacker coming right up behind in third place, looking to get a definite podium for the RoboSport entry. Little Blacko in third, but on the podium for the overall honours, with Speedy Tyres right behind, coming up towards the Porsche curves for the final time. But let's check in with It's Racing, see how far away he is. He's still got a fair bit to go, so we'll keep an eye on Speedy Tyres. So in the meantime, it is a big congratulations to the 96 Persvaza racing team, consisting of Norm XC after a stunning drive by Norm XC in the first stint, followed by John O'Stan 96 in part 2, and now Captain Risky 21 taking the final stint and the line honours for the 96 entry, as we do see, yes, Speedy Tyres coming towards the checkered flag, a podium for him and CP Motorsport. So congratulations to him and the team for an awesome drive. As we look down towards the leader of GT class, it is It's Racing Esports leading the way 25 seconds ahead of XX Hughes. So as we do see in the chat, Pat has said he's hoped to get enough to get a P3. I believe you have done, because the gap between yourself and Was It On was huge, but only time will tell, my friend. So you've done a great job to bring that car home for third place, the first podium for the 47. As we look towards It's Racing, let's ride on board for It's Racing for the final time on the bonnet cam as he executes the corners for the final time and around the Porsche curves. And look at his fuel margin, ladies and gentlemen. How is he he's gonna be bringing that car to the ragged edge. He's pretty much on fumes for the It's Racing Esports 95. So he is short shifting the hell out of his Aston Martin. So coming up towards the checkered flag for the 95, the late substitute that is It's Racing for his team, It's Racing Esports, rounding up the 4 chicanes for the final time, getting a nice braking and a nice entry for It's Racing. And it is It's Racing for the 95, taking victory in the GT class for the part 3 of the 6 hour, with XX Huzo 16X, the Formula 2 champion, right up in second place. But as we've said, time will tell if XX Huzo and his brothers take overall victories for CP Motorsport, or will it be It's Racing, as we do see XX Huzo come around the corners for the final time. It is second place for XX Huzo, so take a bow. Well done to everybody here at Track Stars Racing Series. That is it. The 6 hours is complete, ladies and gentlemen. So what a long night that was. And one team and 3 drivers taking overall line honours. It is Loudy. It is 96 Persvaza racing team that is driven by Norm XC, John O'Stan 96, and Captain Risky 21. So congratulations to those guys for taking out overall victory. That is the Track Stars Endurance Series Le Mans 6 hour. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. We have come to the end of what has been a long night. So thank you very much for tuning in. And we do apologize for the late delay in the third part of the coverage, where It's Racing had to abandon his coverage, and I myself and Spud P666 had to take over and make sure that everything was all smooth sailing, and trying to get onto the Trackstars Discord and make sure that car gets away with victory. Actually, that car that we're talking about, I do apologize, the Trackstars, we do see the admin of the Trackstars Racing Series, Jarman, It's Racing 95, needed to win by more than 20 seconds. We'll need to figure that out as the days and weeks go by, of who takes line honours. So time will tell, but you have done an excellent job, my friend Jarman. It's Racing, you have done a great job to be a last minute entry for the 95. So that is it. Stay tuned for the Track Stars Racing Series Discord channel and the Facebook channel, as well as subscribing to our YouTube channel, where you'll find all the action from the Trackstar boys where you will see coverage just like the Endurance Series, as well as the touring cars and the formulas, Track Stars as well. But on behalf of myself and Spud P666 and Jarman Dalitz It's Racing, we do wish you guys a good night, a good morning, a good afternoon to wherever you guys are watching. And we will see you for the next time. We'll see you for the Endurance Series. Will be at Spa for the 4-hour back in August. So stay tuned for that event. A long time to go, but we will hope to see you then. But in the meantime, we are signing off with victory for the Pusvasa entry 96, driven by Jono Stan 96, Norm XC, and Captain Risky 21, taking an impressive 3 out of 3 for the 96 Toyota TS050. So as we wrap up tonight, everyone's jumping off the game because Formula One is about to start in 8 minutes. So as we sign off, on behalf of myself taking the third and final stint and Spud P666, I wish you guys a good night, and we hope to see you guys on track with Track Stars very soon.